Hello, wildlifers. Hope you're all doing fine. We members of Rotary Fellowship of Wildlifers for Conservation share a common interest, that is wildlife and its conservation, willing to work with the 119-year-old organization, that is Rotary, towards building a future in which people and nature thrive. To share a few notes about our fellowship group, we meet on the 5th day of every month online. We have around 700 plus interested individuals, Rotarians and Rotractors who have globally united around a common interest with the primary purpose to network and further friendship. Although our fellowship activities are conducted independently of the Rotary International, they are in harmony with the Rotary policies. Our purpose is to create awareness about importance of wildlife, to promote lasting friendships outside one's own club, district, and country, and to promote locally, regionally, and globally that conservation of living resources are important to humans and future generations to enjoy our natural world and incredible species that live in it. Today, we have invited members of our Rotary clubs and friends of Rotary from different parts of the world for this meeting. A hearty and a warm welcome to each one of you. I'm also glad to announce that we will shortly be launching the third chapter, that is a chapter in Argentina and Latin America. And I welcome members who are part and parcel of that group here. I also welcome the incoming president of that chapter, Rotarian Francisco, if he's here. Thanks, Francisco, for joining. On behalf of Wildlifers, I also extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Mr. Faisal Malik. Now I request my co-director, Rotarian Kalpa Padia from Rotary Club of Nairobi to please introduce our speaker. Over to you, Kalpa.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Sanjay?
Yes, Kalpa, loud and clear.
Okay. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everyone. So a small introduction about Faisal. Faisal is a Kenyan wildlife filmmaker and a photographer renowned for his award-winning work. He started wildlife photography at the age of 12, turning it into a successful career. With his production house, Visual Africa Films Limited, he produces wildlife documentaries and offers production services in Kenya. Faisal also pioneered augmented reality coffee table books, partnering with HP Asia Pacific for his first book, Elephants of Ivory, in 2017. Faisal is also an honorary warden with the Kenya Wildlife Service, designated to the Southern Conservation Sector of Kenya. Through this responsibility, he conducts conservation projects for the well-being of wildlife. He hopes to find well-wishers to work with him towards creating bigger watering holes for elephants in the Amboseli ecosystem, especially in the Selenkay Conservancy, where there has been a population boom and now the 3 water holes are not sufficient for the elephants and the other wildlife residing in this conservancy. The Amboseli ecosystem has registered new community-run conservancies, which he hopes to help them find investors to lease their space or build eco-camps here so as to create a source of income for the local Maasai communities owning this land. He also focuses on expanding water holes for elephants in Selenkay Conservancy. His documentary, The Elephants of Selenkay, has garnered international acclaim, screening in festivals, and available on major streaming platforms. Faisal plans picture exhibitions along documentary aiming to raise awareness and funds for conservation efforts in the Amboseli ecosystem. He's seeking partners for an impact campaign to screen the documentary and exhibitions in local villages and schools. Additionally, he's set to publish another coffee table book, The Elephants of Selenkay, the proceeds supporting Selenkay Conservancy. And another thing about Faisal is how I met Faisal is because he's an archer too. And my children are archers. That's how I got to meet Faisal. Over to you.
Kalpa, I knew you were going to bring in the archery story. Thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you so much to Kalpa for reaching out to me. I think I shared a link with her some time back, and straight away she said, "Look, there's this thing called the Rotary Wildlifers, and would you like to come on board and just give a little chat?" So I said, "Yeah, sure, why not? Anything for elephants." I think we can just go straight into the presentation, and share the screen. Yeah. So I'd like to thank the Rotary Wildlifers for this unique opportunity. I think this concept is really amazing, where people from all over the world can come together once a month and just share amazing stories about wildlife, about conservation, and network. I think this is really amazing. Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you for putting up with my many questions. To the rest of you, I think I really shot like 101 questions at him prior to this event of what I would like to do and how can we do it, and if that's okay. Thank you to Rashmi as well, whom I requested to operate the slideshow as I do the talking. So I'm gonna do this slightly different. I'm gonna be a bit factual. I'm gonna present some facts, talk to you about some facts, share some facts. At the same time, I will be presenting some personal experiences while on the ground filming Selenkay, and even maybe take you behind the scenes with some images and some interesting stories. Oops, I think we lost the PowerPoint. I'm going to make reference to the documentary. So if you've seen it, I think it would make the presentation more interesting for you. You may be able to recognize some scenes from images. You may even be able to recognize some elephants. So as I said earlier on, the Elephants of Selenkay is not just a wildlife documentary. It has different phases. We ran the documentary bit of it last year. We're now in the picture exhibition phase of it. And we're going to eventually wind up with the coffee table book with the augmented reality. And it's a celebration of elephants. It's a celebration of conservation. It goes to show how communities can get together to save elephants. So we're basically celebrating the Selenkay, Selenkay, that's the name of the community. The conservancy is called Selenkay Conservancy, but the community, the Maasai community, is Selenkay community, and we're basically celebrating the good work they have done and how they've worked together with the corporate to achieve this. Could I have the next slide, please? Okay, so as you know, elephants are an endangered species. They are listed under the IUCN list of endangered species. This heavily came about due to hunting in the 60s, 70s, even much earlier. In 76, I think it was, Kenya banned hunting totally, elephant hunting as well. But until then, you had the elephant auction houses in Mombasa. Mombasa is, to those of you not familiar with the geography of Kenya, Mombasa is the port city of Kenya. So the government had in the 70s, 60s, had auction rooms there, and ivory was auctioned. Once it got banned, there was a lot of illegal trading in elephants, and eventually it resulted in poaching. You do have our neighboring countries and other countries around Africa. I think South Africa, Tanzania, Botswana, Zimbabwe as well, that do allow hunting. They've got their their own reasons for it, for elephant hunting. I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole topic, I think, for another day. But you see, that sort of hunting doesn't work in countries that share borders and one ecosystem. Like, for instance, the Amboseli ecosystem spreads across into Tanzania. Borders came about during the scramble for Africa. That's when Kenya came into existence, Tanzania, Uganda. But the ecosystem was always there, and elephants know not of borders. I always tell people that. Elephants have their migratory routes that I will be talking about later on, and they follow the seasons. So they're going to continue moving on. And unfortunately, what's happening in Tanzania, it happened last year. I think September was the first case. An elephant from Amboseli moved into Tanzania and got shot, got hunted. Same thing happened in November last year. March 1st this year, the third elephant went down. He was called Gilgil. That was the name of the elephant. The other two couldn't be identified because they burnt the carcasses. But anyway, I'm not going to go into detail on that. All I'm just trying to say is that you need to understand, as an ecosystem, you can't say that, oh, this is the border, so we can do what we want on this side. There was a moratorium where you're not allowed to hunt, but somehow it's been broken. But we're trying to address that issue, and we're going to reverse it, and I'm sure hunting around the border will stop. So in Kenya, there has been a decline in poaching. I could confidently say, I think over the last 3 years, we haven't had any cases of poaching, or maybe haven't been realized. We have been strict. The Kenya Wildlife Service has worked hard. Coming up of community conservancies is helping, because communities are seeing the value of having elephants alive. Interestingly, there was a baby boom of elephants during the COVID pandemic. So that, I think that was really cool. I don't know how, but in Kenya, at that time, we were in total lockdown. People couldn't go out into the parks. People couldn't visit. You couldn't even leave your city or town. It was total lockdown. So I think maybe that helped. There was lesser stress on the elephants. I don't know. I'm just curious. I wish I could figure out a scientific reason why that happened. But it was good. It was good for us. So between the 1970s and the 80s, the Kenya population was estimated around 170,000. That's a big number. Like I said, around about that time, there was hunting and all sorts of things happening. But 76, we stopped. But in the 80s, it got really ugly. Poaching got out of hand. A lot of elephants were being killed. You had carcasses all over. I remember reading about a case where a family of 13 got poached. 13, including the calves, and you're wondering, calf, some of them don't even have, tusks, and why bring the entire family down? But the population was brought down to 16,000, 16,000 from 170,000. That was really horrible. But the Kenya Wildlife Service, the government, the conservation groups in Kenya, credit to them, really pushed. And now we have 36,000 elephants roughly in Kenya. That's almost doubling. So which is good. I think it's good. But there's a challenge to that as well. Maybe you can move to the next slide, please. Okay, before I just carry on, I just want to share something with you on this picture. Elephants are very unique. Just like us, you've got your thumbprint where everyone is different and can be identified by a thumbprint. One way of identifying elephants is by their, should I say, the creases on the side of their body. So if you look at, for instance, the two elephants that are giving a side profile, you can see their creases are different. So every elephant is unique in that way. The elephant called Gilgil that I spoke to you about that got killed in Tanzania, that's how we identified him. From his carcass, we could tell from the skin. So that's one way of identifying your elephants. And then maybe next time you come to Kenya, those in Kenya go down to see elephants. When you see them in person, just take a note of that. I mean, this picture gives you a classic example. You can look at the hind legs. You can see the difference in the creases, you can call them, the wrinkles. They're different. Look at the front. Same thing. You can see there's a difference in wrinkles, and they're all unique to every elephant. So going back again to the need for open spaces. Yes, the elephant populations have grown, doubled, and is still growing, looking healthy. But what happened is when the numbers went down, people moved in, people moved into those spaces, community-owned lands, agriculture, developments. And now these numbers have gone back up. The elephants are back. The matriarch never forgets. She's got a memory that could go back, all elephants actually, that could go back 20 years. So these routes, these migratory routes that they have, what I like to call ancient highways. We think we are the ones who started highways. No, we didn't. It was them. So these ancient highways that they know of that have been passed down generation to generation by matriarchs, they're now going back, and they're trying to remember. And of course, you're passing through areas where now you have human settlement. These ancient routes, what we call elephant corridors, unfortunately at that time were not gazetted. Like national parks have been gazetted and game reserves have been gazetted. Conservancies have been gazetted here in Kenya, so people can't encroach in them. You can't go and do your own development in them. Unfortunately, we didn't have that hindsight at the time that we should gazette these corridors. And as a result, there's people living there. There's some practicing agriculture. So now you can't turn around and tell people leave, nor can you say kill the elephant. So there has to be a solution for it. Maybe we could move to the next one. So yeah, the Amboseli ecosystem, it's a delicate balance. The Amboseli ecosystem, you've got swamps in there, you've got desert, you've got forest as well. At the same time, these are dispersal areas for wildlife moving about as they follow the seasons, especially the elephants. When the dry season, they need a lot of water. An elephant, for instance, on average can drink 80 liters of water per day. An elephant can eat up to 250 kilos of food per day. So that is a lot of food and a lot of water. So they need that. So they would follow the seasons. When it's drier in one bit, they'll move ahead. Fortunately, Amboseli National Park itself has swamps that is fed by rivers flowing from Mount Kilimanjaro. So there's constant water there. But of course, the park itself is, I think, 328 square kilometers. It can't sustain those elephants. You've got about 1,800 elephants. So they're always moving, and it's important to have these. Now, some of these are not the only elephant corridors in the Amboseli ecosystem. Again, to those of you who are not in Kenya, Amboseli ecosystem is or are not familiar with the geography of Kenya. The Amboseli ecosystem is along the border of Kenya and Tanzania, where Mount Kilimanjaro is. In fact, you get the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro go into the Amboseli ecosystem. So we've got these are the four major corridors. It's the Amboseli Olgulului South, Kitenden, Kilimanjaro corridor. This is now, I'm sorry to use the word, the notorious corridor where elephants move out and they tend to get hunted, unfortunately, in Tanzania. And I believe another hunting party is out because they issued a fourth license for somebody to hunt. So we just fingers crossed. The second one is the Amboseli Kimana Kuku Chulu West corridor. Chulu is again in Kenya. There's beautiful hills. This corridor is visited a lot if you do follow elephants or are aware about elephants. There's this big boy called Craig, and he's got massive tusks. He's one of the big boys of Amboseli. That's his route. So that's the area he's always operating about, the Amboseli Kimana area. Then you have the Amboseli or Gulului North and Selenkay corridor. Again, there's this big boy called Paulo. He uses that route as well. This is more towards the north of Amboseli, moving away from Tanzania and Kilimanjaro. And the fourth one is the Amboseli or Gulului North and Bilikani corridor. Maybe we can move to the next slide. So I mean, the elephants of Amboseli, they've been researched on for the most and the longest time known ever, over 50 years. The Amboseli Elephant Trust, led by Cynthia Moss, has researched on these elephants. They've identified every individual elephant, and like I said, we're about 1,900 to about 2,000 elephants. There are 56 families in total. So they've actually even identified the family. So you can tell this is such and such family, and these are the individuals belonging to this family. Of course, what happens is when the boys get old, they leave the herd. So the herd is mostly led by the matriarch, who's a female. And it's mostly consisting of females, the aunties, the calves, the sisters, young boys as well. But when the boys get to about 10, 11 or so, they tend to leave. Some live a solitary life. Many choose to join a bachelor herd headed by a prominent bull. And it's actually proven that in the bachelor herd, they're taught manners. They're actually trained by the senior bachelors on behavior and how to conduct themselves. Otherwise, they would end up being rogue elephants. Which is why, again, it's very important that these older elephants have, the older they get, the bigger the tusks become. So they're target to be killed. Which is why it's important for these old elephants to be preserved, because apart from genetically passing on the big tusk gene, they're actually training the youngsters as well and training them so you don't have rogue elephants. So yeah, like I said, they've all been named alphabetically, A to Z. You have the family, so meaning that if a family, let's say, this is the D family, all members of the D family are their names start with D. So later on, I'll be talking about another elephant, and I'll just go back to this so you get a better understanding of this. So today, a lot of this wildlife is, yes, you have the national parks and the game reserves and the conservancies all registered, but a lot of them move out into the dispersal areas and they're interacting with people. There's a lot of interaction between elephants, people, wildlife generally, but here I'm talking more about elephants. So it's important that these areas be managed by people because they need to realize or benefit from the value of wildlife. This is possible. This is being done. It got started with the Selenkay Conservancy. They were the first ones to come up with not the first, but the model they're using for conservancies is was the first of its kind in Kenya. where the communities are benefiting directly economically from these conservancies. And a lot of the cost burden for running these conservancies is being handled by the corporate. That's game watchers who are managing this place for them. That was a model that was never used before. A lot of critics at the time said this is not going to work, but it started in 2006 and it's going strong. Maybe we could move to the next slide. Okay, so that's the poster, the Elephants of Selenkay. That's the documentary we've done. Just to give you a brief, I don't want to spoil it for you for those who haven't watched. The links I think have been shared for those who still need to watch. Basically, this area in the 70s had a lot of elephants, and the elephants disappeared because of hunting and because of human-wildlife conflict. And Game Watcher Safaris, headed by Jay Greaves-Cook, approached them and said, let's start this conservancy for you guys. This is the model where you guys will benefit directly from it. And let's see how it goes. So they did start it, and they put elephant down from Amboseli all the way to Selenkay Conservancy, placed it. And after 20 years, where there were no elephants, now the first elephant came back. The first elephant came back into the Selenkay Conservancy. The habitat was restored, from a place that had like weeds, foreign weeds, and overgrazing, dry. The elephants came back. They built 3 watering holes. Selenkay is generally a dry area with seasonal watering holes. They built 3 watering holes. So from 0 elephants, they now have over 300 elephants and growing. In fact, now the watering holes is a challenge there. It's they can't sustain, with the size of it. So the documentary basically celebrates that. It's a very positive documentary. I feel as a filmmaker, especially as a wildlife filmmaker, we always tend to go for the doom and gloom, and you're always trying to scare mankind that, look, this has happened. Yes, we have done bad things as humans. We have done bad things to the earth. With all this now climate change thing happening, it's because of what we've done to Mother Earth. But we can reverse it. And this Selenkay Conservancy is a classic example. Where a keystone species has come back, and when a keystone species comes back, the other species follow in. And it's a healthy ecosystem now. It continues to grow. I was being told reports, I think about a few months ago, cheetahs have now come back there, So it is a growing ecosystem. We wanted to tell this story. I approached Game Watchers. I said, look, it's a beautiful story. Let's do it. And Mohanjit, that's the CEO, Dr. Mohanjit. And he said, yeah, it's a lovely story. I'd love to do it, but I don't have the money to pay you to do this story. So this was around about the time of COVID, and so I said to him, all right, let's go produce it. Let's do it together, because we can't afford to let this story go. If you're going to sit back and say, let's look for the money, and I'm going to start looking for funding and this, it's going to take forever. And usually when you get funding, rightfully so, the person giving you the money, if he tells you need to head in that direction with the story slightly, you can't start arguing. He's calling the shots. So I said, let's co-produce it, and let's see how we can use the documentary and the pictures, the book to fundraise, and we own it, So we shared all the costs between Game Watcher Safaris and Visual Africa Films, and we did 6 months. We filmed for 6 months in Selenkay Conservancy. We edited for over a year, because we were doing, apart from the documentary, we were doing the book as well. So we, over a year of edit. The documentary did well. Played in 5 festivals. You can see those on the poster up there. Got nominated for 3 awards. won one award. It's available on 7 platforms online. It's available on Amazon Prime, on Tubi. It's called OTT, I think. Yeah. So the OTT Studio, Future Today, Signverse, Stash TV. So it did quite well. Having been there for like 6 months, I mean, honestly, this was one of my biggest. I mean, I've done like a year-long filming, but we went in like different locations. Here we were in one location for 6 months. We had our shot lists that what we want to shoot, and we already knew specifically these are the shots we need. And of course, get something extra, that's a bonus to you. But it gave us a chance to really bond strongly with these elephants. Again, because we were self-funding it, I had to go on a very lean crew. I couldn't take my own driver. So that's an additional cost. I told them, we'll use the Maasais from the conservancy. So they drove and they were guiding us. I film and photograph with my wife. We work together, so we were doing that. So the boss is on location. So we really we built strong bonds with some of these elephants. It's like they kind of accepted us as one of them, and we could even start picking their scents. That smelling them, being so close to them. So I think maybe we can just move to the next slide. I just want to now get a bit personal and some of my personal experiences. And this is a bond, just to tell you about a bond that we built with this elephant, Umoja. Umoja, like I told you earlier on, the families are named by letter. So he belongs to the U family, and his mother, if I'm not wrong, is called Ulia or something like that. But that's his mother. Umoja is only 37 years old. Look at the size of his tusks. Elephants, the older they get, the males, the tusks keep on growing. They live out in the bush. They could live up to about between 50 and 60, depending on where they are and availability of food and water. So this boy is going to be a big boy. Come 40, the tusks then start growing exponentially, and they're going to get bigger and bigger. This was the first picture I took of Umoja, and he wasn't very happy. Wasn't very happy to see us, I think, because again, when you at Selenkay Conservancy, you use their vehicles, but our vehicle is specifically a filming vehicle, which in the behind the scenes, I'll show you that vehicle. So of course, when he sees a foreign vehicle, that's not the usual, Selenkay vehicles, I think he got a bit shaky. No pun intended, but this is a typical, when an elephant wants to warn you not to get any closer, or they do the famous head shake. And that dust you see on his head was literally dust settled in his, wrinkles. So you can imagine how aggressively they do that, and the ears flapping, and it's an amazing experience. It really is an amazing experience. I'd want you to even notice his legs, his stance, how he's standing, because over the period of time he got used to us, he accepted us, and you can actually see he's much more at ease, much more relaxed at our presence. So maybe we can move to the next picture. Yeah, this is Umoja again. Again, now more relaxed. And this sequence of pictures was taken over 6 months. So don't think that it was one after the other. And this, again, in our exhibition, this sequence features, because we're trying to show how we built this relation with this elephant. You can see now he was more at ease with us. Here we got closer to him. We started getting closer. In the previous picture, we weren't that close. I had to zoom in for that. And thank God for that. So this is him again. Beauty. I think he's one of the most gorgeous boys around, if you ask me. Yeah, maybe we could go to the next one. So now here Umoja was totally in his element. He had accepted us. If you look at his legs, straight, no form of threat, nothing. This was his favorite, or is his favorite, dusting point. Of course, they do this a lot to keep the ticks off, to throw the ticks off and things like that. He was so close to us. I think he was about, I'd say, a meter. I could have touched him. I was using, but I didn't because it's unethical. I was using a 10-18 lens, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with lenses here, but I'll still tell you, it's literally, it's a wide lens. And I could just barely cover him in the frame. No cropping. This is how close we were to him. I don't like using the long lens. I like building my bond with the animal, and the animal trusts me. Just get really close, up close, and try and get those really personal touches with the wildlife. It's a lot of hard work. It's not something you can just say, I'm going out to the Mara or Amboseli for 2 days and I'm going to do it. This, keep in mind, is 6 months. Wildlife can be dangerous. So you really need to understand the animal. You need to, the animal's behavior. As you can see again from this picture, if you recall it with the first, he's totally relaxed here. Funny thing about this, he was so close that dust was actually falling on us. It was 1 meter away. That dust, literally, when we got back to camp, we had to clean up the cameras. Thank God I covered my hair, otherwise this long hair would have would have had issues. So it was really amazing. To those of you who watched the documentary, I don't know if you recognize him or recognize this scene. This is actually the opening title scene, where the title of Elephants of Selenkay comes. Is actually this particular scene. Yeah, maybe we can move to the next one. So again, this was Umoja, just to show how close we were getting to him, and he was so totally relaxed. Now, I know some of you must be thinking, am I standing outside? I'm not. Again, as a filmmaker and photographer, you need to be ethical and you need to be careful and you need to realize this is wildlife. They are unpredictable. In fact, I always tell my driver, my job is to film, your job is my safety. If you feel it's unsafe, drive off. I'm not going to question you. Again, if those who watch the documentary, the closing scene is an elephant charge, and it is actually really a charge. The elephant charged at us, and the driver made the conscious decision to drive off. And what I did then was I just hugged my camera so as to reduce shake absorb as much of the shake. And I managed to get that sequence off it as it was chasing. In fact, the trunk took a swipe and literally a few inches, I'd say, from my camera. Thank God for that, we were safe. But anyway, this photograph was from the balcony door. You'll see a better view of that in the behind the scenes. So Umoja, when I saw him for this scene, actually what we needed here was Umoja right at the back there. And that's where he was, grazing. It was meant to be a wide shot of an elephant grazing in the savannah. So I got the driver to stop. And as I was setting up my camera, by the time I put it up, this guy literally slowly walked up to us and started grazing next to us. And I think we spent like 20 minutes. So he had become so used to us and so I think he used to see us as friends or something, because he just come right up to us. Literally, he got so close at some point, 1 meter away. But of course, I never touched him because you need to respect that boundary. There were cases where there's one time at night when we headed back to camp, and my wife and I were in a tent, and we hearing this funny sounds of grazing outside, and she says, "What's that?" So I was like, "That's an elephant." So she's like, "Okay, let's see." So we actually put down the tent window, and it was him outside our tent grazing. He literally followed us back to camp and was grazing there. So that just goes to show, the emotions elephants and the intellect, and I think which is why it's really important. We shouldn't be hunting them or poaching them. They're almost as intelligent as us, I'd say. Okay, maybe we can move to the next. Okay, this is again another funny story behind it, but to those who've watched the documentary, I'm sure you recognize this scene. This was the mud bath sequence in the documentary of Umoja. Again, this is Umoja, and from the vehicle. So I'm not on foot, or again, I'd never advocate for doing such antics. So I needed to get real close-ups of the trunk, and I got some shadow shots, which is why I'm using a big lens. I'd already got the shots I'd wanted, so I moved on to the bigger lens so I could zoom in and just get the trunk sucking water and things. If you watched the documentary, you'll recognize the scene as well. Now the funny thing about this, so I was here filming. My wife was, the Land Cruiser has a hatch above, and she was above me photographing. And this guy was so close to us that just when you're throwing the water and the mud, it was actually landing on us. And I was actually thinking at some point, is it most probably, I think he's doing it deliberately, trying to get us dirty and wet as well. And again, we got back to camp, caked in mud and, filthy equipment, had to give everything a good rub down and clean, have a shower. So it's really interesting, when you get a chance to get so close to such magnificent beasts, hearing them breathe, hearing them suck that water, that trunk can take up to 15 liters. So it's, in fact, the speed with which they can, at full throttle, if they suck up water into that trunk, the speed is 15 times faster than a human sneeze. So you can just imagine, they're beautiful. Maybe we can go to the next one. So this is now the other face of the Elephants of Selenkay. After we've had a good run, we decided, we made that decision that first finish with the documentary run. Once it isn't like packed away, it's still going on, but now this year we're putting focus onto the picture exhibition, and we've selected. We've had loads of pictures actually, but I think we've started off with 10 pictures. Most probably it might be a 15-picture exhibition eventually, and so far we've done 2 exhibitions. We were fortunate enough to get selected for a side event for UNEA 6, the United Nations Environment Assembly, that happened in Kenya in February. It was a week-long summit. So as a side event at the village market, that's a big place, shops and stuff close by to, they were doing the side events close by to the UNEP, the United Nations. So we had this up there for a week, and it was amazing, very well attended. We had the Minister of Environment from Malaysia come over and take a look at it as well. Very honored to have him. A lot of Kenyans as well. I strongly believe in that, because these elephants are Kenyan, so people on the ground have to see this and have to appreciate what work they're doing or what work fellow Kenyans are doing. That's the only way we can save our elephants. The second exhibition was at the Environment Summit that was organized by the Hindu Council of Kenya. That was a one-day event. It was which went well. So we're still pushing. We want to do 10 this year. That is the goal, that by the end of the year should have done 10 exhibitions around the country, not just in Nairobi. We've started in Nairobi. It's going to go all over, if possible, even if funds and opportunities allow. We'd love to do it abroad as well. We've spoken to some corporates. Let's see where the journey takes us. We want to do an impact campaign. with this documentary and this exhibition. Many of filmmakers, including myself, we're guilty of this, that we go in, you make the film, Amazon Prime, Tubi, everywhere it's available, but the people on the ground who the story is about, who helped you make the film, never get to see it. Which is a shame, which is really sad. And yes, it's available online, but I don't want to send somebody out there a link and say, find time to watch it. What we want to do is take it with on a big screen, have outside viewing, outdoor viewing with the picture exhibition around the Amboseli ecosystem, because this story is about this, and we want the people out there to see how they are being appreciated for the work they're doing in elephant conservation. And that's the only way it can be done, by showing them these documentaries that are being made about them, photographs and everything. Yes, it is the Elephants of Selenkay, but the story is how the Maasai community from Selenkay made that decision to say, we're starting this conservancy, we're working with this corporate, and we're going to bring the elephants back. And they came back. So we're hoping, again, vitamin M is the issue, what I like to call vitamin M, money. We're trying to see how we can try and get finance to take it around the Amboseli ecosystem and show the people on the ground that look at the beautiful work you people are doing and getting appreciated for. At the end of the 10 exhibitions or even more, we're hoping to auction these pictures. Again, we want to auction to fundraise for the Selenkay Conservancy. That's a commitment I've made to them, because they need, like, I think $36 an acre per year to keep the place open. Like I said, the watering holes, they built 3 watering holes, but they're not 300 elephants now. They need to expand. So hopefully fundraise for that through auctioning these photographs. They're nice, beautiful photos, and hopefully try and get some funding in them. They were hit hard with COVID. Of course, they've overcome it, but COVID hit tourism worldwide. Things just shut down. But these open spaces need to stay. You can't say that tourism has gone down, so we lose these spaces. Maybe we can move to the next. So this is one of the pictures of the exhibition. Like I said, there are about 10. We'll eventually have 15, but we have very many pictures. These pictures are even going to be in the book, the coffee table book. That's already ready. We're just waiting to go into bulk print hopefully in December. And so that's about 109 pages, I think. Yeah. So this was very interesting. What happens there? Amazingly, the water holes, herds take their turns to go in to drink water. So if there's a herd in the water, the other herds will just hang around. As soon as those guys are done with the water, they'll move out. Then the next herd runs in. It's like they've got a system going, like an agreement. And I think they do it for safety of the babies, because it's quite hectic in there. And I think a baby from another herd can easily just get crushed or something. That's my take. I don't know. I wish they could explain to me why they take turns like this. But it's amazing just to watch them, just to sit and see that there's one hanging around because one herd, because there's a herd in there. As soon as that herd moves out, this runs in. So this herd was now running in, and this baby just, beeline for the water. And you can actually see the mother really worried, because babies are really looked after by the herd. A mother will carry a baby for like 22 months, gestation period, almost 2 years. She'll then suckle the baby for another 2 years. So that's 4 years. So you can imagine, how valuable babies, calves are to them. And usually the aunties, those are, you can see the little, I would call the teenagers, we can call them at the back there, those 2 girls, they look after the calves. And this one just shot. She was like, you're not looking for me, I'm going. And so they they head out, drink. So I thought this would be a nice one to capture. Can go to the next one, please. Yeah, so like I said, I managed to get pretty close to these elephants. And again, I wanted my filming and photography style is very different. I like to show people different things, you know, something that you wouldn't see normally from an your own perspective. Like, who would be able to stare down into the trunk of an elephant and notice that there's hair in there? There's the trunk actually is not one hole. There's like a split in between. So again, with the contrast of the light, I really wanted to bring out the muscles and show the strength of an elephant. An elephant trunk is a nice Nat Geo moment. Some fun facts. An elephant trunk has 40,000 muscles. The human body has 600 muscles. So you can imagine, you know, how strong that is and how versatile. It's actually, I think, the most versatile limb. At the end, you can see those two little like pincers. Those are actually fingers, and they use that to pick from the tiniest things to the biggest things to itching away and stuff. You know, so it's not just for breathing. The trunk, it's used for many things: drinking water, eating, blowing dust and stuff. Talking, breathing, again, just another fun fact is this one gets people blown away. Is an elephant will only, on average, an elephant only breathes 6 times in a minute. You know, so you can imagine just the whole size of its lungs and 6 times in a minute. So okay, maybe we can move to the next. Right. So behind the scenes, a lot of people always ask me that, you know, how is it behind the scenes? Yeah, it must be fun. They say, yeah, it's fun. I mean, I love my work. I have a passion for it as well, and I'm lucky to have developed a hobby into a career. I don't see myself doing anything else. We were using 2 vehicles, although we were only filming with 1 vehicle at a time. This was the Game Watch's vehicle, which is more of an open vehicle, but we built a filming door for it because you need that. I'll talk more about that. So sometimes it would be in this vehicle, or the other time would be in that, but it was always just 1 vehicle, my wife and I, the driver, and the guide. And we'd get really close, you know, but we never drove up to them. You need to, with elephants, you need to build your confidence. They need to get, you know, confident about you that you don't mean harm. The first time you see them, they'll always just stop doing everything and they'll just stare at you. That they're gauging you. Is this guy trouble? What does he want? And we'd keep our distance, and eventually and there were times you'd be surrounded and you're like, oh my God, you know, we've got elephants all over us. So this was how now behind the scenes, partly how the experiences were. Maybe we can go to the next picture. Yeah, that's the boss, the missus. So that's a balcony door. So as you can see, that's the side of the vehicle, and it's actually mounted outside the vehicle. So you're actually sitting outside. The advantage of this is it gives you the 180-degree panning. Your camera is on what we call a hi hat. That's like a mini tripod, and you basically tie it down and, you know, hold it because you don't want to shake. It has to be really firm because with camera shake shots, they're basically useless unless there's a reason for that shake. So you sit in that area, like you can see she was taking some stills. That's how you do it. And usually when the vehicle is driving, I don't like sitting in there. I keep that and the camera aside. It's when we stop, I like to go in. Maybe we can go to the next one, please. Okay, so this is our vehicle, the one I use with the hatch, and I just wanted to show what the balcony door looks like from outside, you know. So it is like a body of a vehicle. this project was in partnership with Canon as well. When I first went for a scouting trip to Selenkay Conservancy, I put together a small teaser and pitched it to Canon, and they loved it. And they told me that whatever you want, take it. So we shot with a Canon Mark III. Those who know cameras, that's a 4K camera. It's a broadcast professional camera. We had a range of massive lenses to use. It's not always hunky-dory when you're out there. There are times you don't see animals. You need to start looking for them, and that's what I was trying to do there as well. You're trying to just search. So, like I said, a lot of the filming is done through the balcony door. I'm not a fan of going up into the hatch. My wife likes using the hatch for pictures, but I prefer to try and go as low as possible. As you must have seen from the pictures of Umoja, you're actually below him, you know, and that brings the magnificence of the animal. Again, the eye contact and everything. So yeah, maybe we can go to the next one and see what next. Yeah, those of you who watched the documentary, the dung beetle scene, the famous dung beetle on the elephant dung, this was it. You can see like a blackish spot. I don't know if you can try and pick it on the elephant dung on the lower left. That's elephant dung. Again, it was a challenge to film it because using a tripod with the dung beetle just, you know, literally all over, pop, 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 pop. It was difficult. So then in that case, what you do, you take your beanbag. That's the beanbag I've rested the camera on. And I'm actually using my hand as a fulcrum. If you notice, the camera is not sitting on the beanbag. It's my hand. And you've got to use that. Those are some of those techniques that, you know, secrets of the trade, how to get your shots. So this is how we got our dung beetle beetle sequence. As you can see, as I told you, I cover my head when I'm out there. Having this hair comes with a price, so you need to save yourself from the dust. Yeah, maybe we can go to the next. Thinking about good memories. Yeah, that's the dung beetle again. You can see the camera over it. You can see that little black blob of it, and really interesting. So what the dung beetle does is it takes this dung, it rolls it into a ball, and she lays her eggs in it and hides it somewhere. And the eggs hatch in the dung, and when the babies hatch and everything, they've got food already. And in the environment, they're ready, they've got food and everything. So when they get their strength, and they eventually make their way out of the dung. And it's interesting even to see them rolling the dung with the ball. We got it in the documentary as well. So yeah, that was behind the scenes with the dung beetle. Maybe we can go to the next. So yeah, I mean, just to sum things up now, communities need to benefit directly from wildlife conservation, because these are the people who are living with wildlife. And if they don't benefit, they're not going to see the value. If they cannot put food on the table because of wildlife, who they're being told you need to conserve this and you can't do X, Y, Z because of this, they're going to sell off land. They're going to walk away from it. You know, they need to be appreciated for making that effort to live along elephants. They're elephants, yes, they're gentle giants, but they are destructive. You know, they will destroy things, they will break things looking for food and stuff. So the community needs to benefit. They need to, you know, from this. I've always said this. This is a form of alternative land use. You know, you're talking about let's use land for agriculture, for this and that. This is a form of alternative land use. Keep it open, make it a conservancy. Let the people living with wildlife benefit. It's the only way spaces can remain open now for elephants to roam freely. I've given you the figures of how much they eat and they're walking and the space they need. This is the only way we can do it. Unfortunately, in Kenya, I think 2 years ago, uh, there's a lot of land demarcation and subdivision going on. This whole community land concept has actually, the government has done away with it. To those who don't know it, basically the Maasai lifestyle is that they own community land. The land is owned by the community. It's not individual. So you'd have 3 or 4 or 5 families living together in different bomas, and they said this whole span is ours, and we'll do what we want, grazing, and they don't practice agriculture. But the government has now said that is no more. Individuals have to own land. You've got to have your own individual title deed, and it gets demarcated, beacons and everything. And the land has been subdivided and it's already started. I mean, people like in the families, they've been told this is your 21 acres, 21. But what happens there then is if I have been demarcated land and I choose to sell it, there's nothing wrong. Willing buyer, willing seller, it's legal. If I sell, if Sanjay had land there and he decides to sell it to me and or someone else, and they decide to do a farming, fencing, grow, put up apartment blocks there, it's legal because it's a legal transaction. So that's why we really need to make sure that yes, these conservancies are being formed through the honorary wardens. We've built a lot of registered, so many, I think already about 14. But investors now need to come in, and and that's now the challenge, bringing people to say lease the entire conservancy or build an eco camp somewhere, so at least the community now can start seeing the money value of it, because it's a risk of willing buyer, willing seller, and they will introduce practices that are harmful to wildlife, and legally there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong because this is land that's not gazetted or demarcated as conservancies, but we're trying to register these conservancies. We've got these communities together to do it, but now the challenge, how are we going to get them to find investors to realize the economic value of this. So I think it's, in conclusion, today we've seen pictures of elephants. Some of you may have seen the videos. The documentary I did, seen them in video, which is amazing. But the question I'd like to ask is this what we want? Is this what we want to show our future generations, that this is what elephants look like? This is what elephants were? Because if that land demarcation goes on, if those conservancies are not up and running soon, elephants are going to run out of space, and that'll be a sorry end. And then that's all that will be left, pictures and videos. So it's upon us to make sure that we can create these opportunities to save the elephants, so future generations can personally, just in person, experience what it's like being in front of an elephant. Thank you for your time. Questions, comments, let's chat. Thanks.
Yeah, that was fantastic presentation, Faisal. Thank you so much. There are a lot of comments, and there are a couple of suggestions as well as to how we can work around and see if we can have we can support a water hole. Why can't Rotary take it up as a project, sponsor a water hole? That's one of the interesting conversations that is there in the chat box. I will do one thing. I'll just run through the chat box and go through a couple of questions. Also, in the meanwhile, if there is anyone who wants to ask, any question, please feel free to raise your hand, and I will call out your name, and then you can unmute yourself and please ask. So, meanwhile, let me go through the go through the chat box. So, okay. Rashmi has shared the link, YouTube link to the uh, film that's Elephants of Selenkay. So you can just copy that particular link and watch it, those who have not got the link from me. Chris from Rotary Action Group for Endangered Species says, let's do something in the Rotary International Conference that is going to be held in the month of May, Singapore, for this project. He is asking if we have a booth. I think Regis has got a booth. We don't have a booth. I will share, Chris, I will share your contact. With your permission, I will share it with Faisal, and he will be able to get in touch with you, or you can get in touch with him and see what best we can do.
Sanjay, if I could just add in there,
Yeah.
we're currently designing the booth, and there will be space if we want to have something about the elephants in the booth itself. Obviously, we would love to have the wildlifers join with Regis, and we can share the booth with you if you'd like to have something in the booth for wildlifers as well. You're welcome to do that.
So nice.
We just need to work out how it all fits together. We have a very prominent position right beside the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group. We're right on the end of a corridor, and so we'll be able to have some prominence for any of the projects we have that we'd like to focus on for endangered species.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Chris. That's an offer that I can't refuse. I will definitely get back to you on this. I'll see. Let's see how we can work around this and take it forward. Thank you so much. And yeah, so may I request Rotarian Richard Kirundi? Yeah, please unmute yourself and please go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. And that's a wonderful presentation, Faisal. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I have some work that I do with a community down in Amboseli, what you call the Old Gulului Ranch.
Yes.
And we've had a sensitization session with them, where they've agreed to put aside a massive piece of land for natural ecosystem restoration.
Yeah.
Maybe we could exchange contacts and then see what we can do for this community. I've done quite a bit of work with them, and even taken some foreign organizations to see if they can do some investment there. But thank you, and you've done a lovely job. I've enjoyed your talk.
Thank you so much for that, Richard. In fact, I'm aware of that sensitization session that happened at Old Gulului. It's a massive area that they've actually given out. I think 90% of that area touches the boundary of Amboseli National Park. So it is massive, and I think they've divided it into some more conservancies called Kitenden A and B, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So for sure, I think I'll try and get your contacts through Sanjay. Sanjay, is that the best way? And then
I'll send it to you on the chat.
Oh, lovely. So I'll pick it up from there. Lovely,
They've put aside about 135,000 acres.
Yep. It's a massive.
Yeah.
I've seen that map. I'm aware of that area.
Okay.
And it's important when they sacrifice to give away so much land. it's important that we realize, find a way how they can realize benefits from it, find investors for them, to kind of lease the land, so they even economically benefit from it. Thanks, Richard. Amazing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Richard. So Chris wants to know how much needs to be raised for a new watering hole.
Good question. We haven't quite worked the costs yet, because I know a new watering hole costs around 3 million Kenya shillings to drill in. But like I said, we already have 3 existing. So is it a question of just expanding, which I would believe would be the better option. You just expand it, and we're looking at we want to consider an option of solar, not generator led. There's no electricity out there. So yeah, a new one costs normally about 3 million Kenyan shillings roughly to dig. So it should be less. It should be less than that for sure, because the water, everything is there. It's just now to expand the space. So maybe if, I don't know, Chris, we could have side charts on this, and I could further get those details from for you.
Yeah, thank you. That would be great. I'm involved with putting together global grants, and so I'd be really keen to look to getting a project together, more than $30,000 US.
Okay.
For that, or else if it's a district grant, we can work for something lower. But yeah,
Right.
let's talk offline. I put my email
Right.
in the. I also have a side question which is completely different to this. I'm looking for somebody that's interested in endangered species of sloth in Central America. So if you have anybody on board that are interested in sloth, I'd like to hear from you.
In sloth.
Sloth, yes. 2-toed, 3-toed sloth.
Right.
Yeah, not sloth bear. Sloth, yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll get back to you on that.
Thanks.
So Chris, I just want to add, you have asked why not a Rotary project to pay for watering hole, and Kalpa says that is something we can work on. So Kalpa is in Nairobi, Rotary Club of Nairobi. I'm sure she can work on, and she can ask her club if they can devise a project for this purpose and come out. I will share your contact with Kalpa. So Kalpa will get in touch with you. Kalpa, would you be able to get in touch with Christopher and then take it forward? And let's see how wildlifers can also pitch in for this particular project if it is taken up. There's one particular comment that is from Harsha. He says, so these water holes, basically, do we need to do water holes in the, animals should they depend on man-made water holes is what his question is. So,
you see, the thing is, that particular area has a lot of vegetation, semi-arid bush, but has seasonal rivers. Now, if there's no water, the animals are going to move away. So unfortunately, I think we just have to make sure that there is an ecological balance to it. That's why earlier on I said, do we really need to build more water holes or expand? In my opinion, expand. Don't keep on building water holes, because it's affecting the water table as well. But unfortunately, where we are now as a species on this earth, so much has been done that we really need to start. It's damage control. If there's no watering holes in those areas, they're going to move out. The only place that has permanent is Amboseli National Park itself, and I think there's 2 or 3 conservancies around there Kimana has its permanent watering holes, and a few others. If you don't have them, they're gonna look elsewhere, and there's bound to be a human wildlife conflict. So I think now it's actually a question of managing a human wildlife conflict.
Thank you. Thank you. Vikram, you want to ask?
Thanks, Sanjay. Hi, Fazal.
How are
Love the
you?
homework of watching your entire video and obviously your slides afterwards. Mine is actually more of there's one probably practical question, the other is more philosophical. I think the practical question is, globally now we are seeing a lot of countries getting paid for ecosystem services. That's become a major way of paying for conservation rather than just livelihoods. Is that something that you explored for elephants? Is that something you're able to measure for elephants? Is that an approach? Because like when I look at your video, obviously heavy dependence on just one source of livelihoods and revenue, which is just tourism, is always going to be risky for any purpose tomorrow. Is that something that you explored?
I think you've actually hit the nail on the head. And like I said, tourism, you can't heavily just rely on that. And I think COVID is taught us all a lesson regarding that. I know the Selenkay Conservancy is exploring the whole carbon credits scenario. Unfortunately, I'm not involved in that aspect of it, so I can't throw much light on that. But what they've started, which again I think is an amazing thing, they've introduced beekeeping to the Maasais there. So they're actually beekeeping. They're doing beekeeping commercially. Now the interesting thing about beekeeping, bees scare elephants. It's two ways to it. There's two ways to it. So yes, tourism should not be the only way for them. They need to think of other ways. Again, through this documentary, what agreement I have with them is licensing, like through sales of the documentary, the book, the exhibition. We're fundraising for them. They get financing as well. So they need to see that that's another way for them to raise finance for the conservancy, as opposed to just relying on tourists flying in or driving in from around Kenya for bed space and making money. So yes, we now need to think, outside the box. I'm fortunate enough that before starting my film production company, I was actually running a safaris business. So at least I understand that concept a bit of safaris and tourism. But you're right, it's not just tourism, they need to think beyond. So they are looking at carbon credits. I know there's a big project going on that. They've already kickstarted beekeeping and it's doing well.
So the other side, which is a quick philosophical question, long answer, others are waiting to ask questions. You spent a lot of time in the field. You worked with these elephants, obviously very close to them. It's quite evident from everything that you've seen today in the video. Where do you think we draw the line? What is equitable between the species? When we talk of human-dominated world today, we're a very anthropocentric world today. And a lot of what we do in conservation and restoration and all of that is again centered around humans. So personally, I'm just trying to gather views from everybody, wildlife and outside wildlife, because I have a heavy bias towards wildlife. So I'm just trying to understand, where do you see the line of equity being drawn? What is equitable between the rest of the planet and one species?
Okay, I think I don't know if I'm getting your question right, but I think from a filmmaker's or a photographer's point of view, and interestingly, something came up on the Honorary Warden's group, and we were discussing this, is you need to know where to draw the line with wildlife. As you recall, when I showed you the pictures, I told you this, I was not on foot. Easily some of those pictures where you see me and the elephant, I could have told you I'm on foot and you could have believed it because of the way the shot was framed.
So to clarify, I meant more on equitable in the sense of who has more rights over the land ultimately.
Right, right.
It's a philosophical question. I'm
Okay,
not saying there's a right answer.
that's again a very sensitive question, because you may think I'm crazy, but who gave us the right to decide over elephants? I mean, a few years ago in Kenya, we
Yeah.
built the SGR, railway going across all the way from Mombasa to Nairobi. And when they said we're crossing Savo, we're going to put it on stilts so the elephants can cross underneath. But they shaved off a handsome amount of Savo National Park. But we've taken away their land. So where do the elephants go? Of course, they're going to come to where humans are. And then there's going to be human wildlife conflict. And who's to blame? We've taken away their land. They're going to look for land elsewhere. So I really don't think we have a right over them, honestly. Yes, we are the more intelligent of the species. But if we're intelligent, then we need to make some intelligent decisions. This is their earth as much as it is our earth. And back then, a lot, we were living in harmony, and again, our conservation, a lot of people try and force conservation models like down the Maasai and tell them, do it this way, what you're doing is wrong. But these are guys who've been living with animals for over 100 years.
Yeah.
Over 100 years. So you got to respect that. But I think we're pushing it. As a human species, we're pushing it. We're really, you're just shaving off land. Like even the Nairobi National Park, we shaved off some of that to build a highway. We shaved off to build a container depot. Where are all these animals going to go? Are they going to move into the city? And it happened when they started shaving that off. We had lions coming into the city. I don't know if guys here from Nairobi or Kenya, along the highway, you had lions, a lion running down. He got out from the park. Another lion got out on the other side and they killed him. He had to be shot down brutally. So yeah, we don't have the right. I'm sorry to say that. We are more intelligent than all of them. But I think we need to share this space equally. We can't just keep on saying we're making space for ourselves. I don't know if I've answered your question.
You absolutely did. Thank you so much. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. Over to past President Ganga. Yeah, you can unmute and ask. Past President Ganga. Yeah, I think he's... Sasha, would you like to ask? Yeah, please go ahead.
Oh, yes, please. So I've already been part of several conservation volunteering projects in Southern Africa. So at Selenkay, do you know if there are any volunteering projects which I could be able to join? That would be really, really interesting.
Okay, I don't know of voluntary projects running at the moment, but I mean, if you drop me an email, I can try and put you through to them to find out.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Just I'll just try and put my email address that as well, and just drop me an email, and I could ask them. You never know, and see what they say. I know they're doing something on carbon credits. So whether they're going to use that, they're looking for volunteers for that. I'm not too sure.
Yeah. So I'm a certified field guide and trails guide. Maybe that's of any use.
Well, you could mention that to them as well. But I know they use a lot of their Maasai guides there, because one of okay, I've sent it. What they try and do is that's how they get employment for the community around there. They're employing a lot of Maasai. Like you can see, my car was being driven by a Maasai. Excellent driver. I had a Maasai guide. Again, excellent at his work. So yeah, but guiding, I doubt it, to be honest, because I know they use the community.
It was worth to ask. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Thank you, Sasha. We have Deanne who says that love your enthusiasm and stories rather than just facts. You make me want to visit from Misauti, USA. So let me tell you, Faisal, Dian has been one of our most regular attendees for all our events. And
Right.
I think it's quite early in the morning for her, but she promptly attends all our events. Thank you, Dian, for your interest.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you for your kind words.
inclusion.
Sometimes I think I talk too much, but but
No, no.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
All of us did enjoy. Yeah.
Right.
And Past President Ganga, are you there? I see his hand raised, but yeah. Okay, anyone else? Any more questions? Oh yeah, Alka. Yeah, please go ahead, Alka.
Thank you so much. It was a fascinating presentation. Thank you for all that you're doing for protecting our endangered species. And I wanted to know if there was a possibility that you would be visiting USA and we could have you as one of our guest speakers and at our district conference or anytime here. Is there any chance that we could support this project via global grants as well?
I mean, for sure, definitely, for sure, I'd be interested. Maybe you could share your email address with me, and I could drop you an email, Alka, and we could talk about that, or how do you want to do it?
Yeah, I've put my email in the chat as well. And
Oh.
we are from 5930 from Texas, USA. And I'm sure we would be able to, and I'm in charge of the global grants for next year.
Right.
So we'd love
Right.
to
For
support.
sure.
some-
I mean, I'll drop you an email, then maybe we could
Yeah.
have a chat. And
For sure.
I'm just trying to pick up your email address. I can't seem to find it. Oh, here
I
it
can
is.
put,
I've seen it. Alka
Yeah.
Gmail, right? Yeah. So I'll
Yeah.
drop you an email, and then let's have a side chat about this and look into it. For sure. I'd love to do it.
And also wanted to know what would be the price of the coffee, if there is already a price assigned to the coffee book.
Well, we set aside, the book is ready. Just give me a minute. I could actually quickly rush and show you this sample of it. The book is ready. So that's the book. If you can fit. Fitting, yeah. So that's the book. It's a massive book, 2 kilos and lots of nice pictures. Is that a picture? Yeah. There you go. Is it? Yeah. So that's the book. We had priced it at about, I think it was about $120, $150, but you know, of late the dollar's gone really crazy against the shilling. We're hoping to release this book in December. To publish it in December, but it's ready. It's just that the timing of when to go into mass printing will be in December. So I think we're looking at around about that area, that price. But at least the shilling has started gaining some strength over the dollar. So I think the price will be able to, but we're looking around about that range. It's going to have augmented reality. Basically, what you'll be able to do with your smartphone, you point it to an image in the book and it instantly plays a video. So so we're looking at round about that.
Would love to have a copy, of course.
Yeah, for sure. Once the book is in mass print, it's ready already, but that will look towards the end of the year once the picture exhibition is done. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alka.
Thank you, Alka. We have Dr. Akasia Warren. Yeah, I saw a couple of messages from Dr. Akasia. Over to you. I think it's better you ask.
First of all, congratulations, Faisal. Such a wonderful presentation. I want to help you, but at this time, I would like just to make a request, if I can. I am retired from the Tufts University School of Veterinary Medicine. I care about diseases, and I was wondering if there are some diseases that we should be worrying now with your animals there. I have published with Jane Goodall about some parasitic diseases as well as DNA markers we developed from the dogs, I had my students there, and I just wonder how I can help you to address potential issues of emerging diseases, zoonotic diseases. We have not yet published the final comment that we took away from our work with Jane Goodall, and that is tourism may be the cause of some of those zoonotic diseases. It's not all from animals to humans, it's from humans in the tourism, business, actually going with some diseases to those species. I want to help, and I just wonder how I can help you on this issue of monitoring potentially devastating diseases for the species on your land, on your country.
Okay, so just to get it clear, do you want to create awareness or do you want to monitor?
I think it will be best to monitor because at this time, because of climate change, we need to be prepared. And I can go back to my wildlife friends at the veterinary school and I can say, hey, I want you to send this many students to this area of Africa and help them just to continue the work I began with Jane Goodall. And so I just feel this will be a unique opportunity for many of us in the United States to help with your own projects, to keep funding you, to keep helping you with your interest. And it will be great to have you here in Massachusetts also to speak about your project. Hey, not only Texas.
I'd love to. I think the way I'm looking at it is like, as an honorary warden with the Kenya Wildlife Service, maybe we can approach. They have a vet department, they have a research department, and we can now talk to them and see how we can work together on this, because the Kenya Wildlife Service, they are the custodians of wildlife in Kenya. They have been gazetted by the government to look after that, and they do have a strong a vet department. They do have a research department. They have scientists on board. So from what you're saying, which is why I was asking you, is it research or awareness? I think that would be the best way to go. So maybe I put in my email address. Drop me an email. Maybe we can talk more in detail of exactly what you're looking at, and then I can reach out to the Kenya Wildlife Service in my capacity as an honorary warden and tell them, look, this is what we'd like to do, and then they'd point us in the right direction of who to talk to and how we can go about it. But for sure we can, because our wildlife service, the KWS, is very big. They're all over the country. So they're dealing with even the conservancies. When they have issues with wildlife, they do not deal with them themselves. They have to bring in the KWS. So that would be the right door to knock on. Yeah.
Thank you.
You can pick my email address from the chat. Yeah.
Yes.
Faisal, you seem to have a lot of demand in the US. You are being invited from different parts of US. So please let me know if you need an assistant. I can accompany you.
Always welcome.
Yeah. So,
Love it for sure.
Yeah, I also I would like to recognize the presence of Mr. Joseph Hoover, who is from our state that is Karnataka in India. He's doing a lot of work towards wildlife conservation. And I'm glad to have you, sir. Thanks for attending this session. He has motivated a lot of people to save our diminishing forests and wildlife. Thank you, sir. I'm so happy that you are here. So, Sanjeev, yeah, please, Sanjeev, we have Rotarian Sanjeev from Nairobi. Yeah, please go ahead, Sanjeev.
I need to
Good
speak to
evening, all.
Faisal. Give me an opportunity.
I'm sorry. Just a minute, Sanjeev. Mr. Joseph would like to say something. Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Joseph.
I should thank Faisal for the excellent presentation. Being a photographer turned activist, so I know how exciting and how troublesome it is. You need a lot of patience, you need a lot of guts, you need a lot of tolerance. So I understand from where it comes, and the kind of work you've done is amazing. I appreciate that. I salute you.
Thank you.
Coming to what you said earlier regarding three issues, you mentioned that humans are the most intelligent species. They're also the most destructive species, unfortunately, today. We are the ones who are destroying the habitats. We are the ones who are inviting trouble. Like you spoke about land use. There are willing buyers and there are willing sellers. This is the situation.
No, Joseph's gone.
Well, our forests are being devastated because a lot of people are interested in homestays and resorts and ranches. They're buying up from all the farmers in Bandipur, Nagarore, and they are creating a lot of trouble. And by doing that, the man-animal conflict has increased manifold. And what you face is similar to what we are undergoing in Karnataka and Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So it's an ongoing, every other day there's an elephant which is trampling somebody in either Kerala or Tamil Nadu or in Karnataka. So this is the conflict situation we are in, and we have got ourselves into that situation, unfortunately. And then coming to the solar pump aspect that you spoke about, this is something that I've been interacting with the Karnataka Forest Department, some of the senior officers. Initially, I had got some of my friends, motivated them to pitch in for solar pumps in certain areas in Bandipur and Nagarole. These are core tiger habitats in Karnataka. And it so happened at one point of time, the Karnataka forest officials, the senior cadre there, decided saying that enough, we don't want to have too many water holes because the population dynamics is exploding. The tiger numbers have increased because the herbivore species have increased. So that is creating a conflict situation. So at one point of time, they turned down 8 projects like these, where they were supposed to have solar pumps. They said we don't need. But unfortunately, now we are in a desperate situation where we are begging people to put up solar pumps. So it is turned around. I mean, the way the climate emergency is, the climate crisis, it's turned things around. So I think, because I've been to Nairobi, I've been to Kruger, I've been around those parks earlier. I see that you are all in a better position than what we are in today in Karnataka, Kerala, or Tamil Nadu. Your opinion on that is yours.
I think in terms of conservation, I'd say for sure Kenya is in a better position than very many countries. We are taking that initiative. We have sensitized people on the ground as well. I think that's really important, and made people realize that people on the ground have to benefit from this. You know, that's the secret. But if me in Nairobi, excuse me, I'm benefiting only from tourism, and that person in Amboseli or Selenkay is not benefiting, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So for sure, we definitely, I'd say we're in a good place in terms of conservation, in terms of awareness. Like you can see, I told you already, Richard spoke of an awareness campaign that's already happening around Amboseli. I told you that already. I think we've registered 14 conservancies. These are communities. These are not businesses that have gone to them and said, do this, we are coming. No, it's the opposite. The community has done it. They've given in their land, and now they're saying we want businesses or investors to come in. So yeah, I think we're in a better position for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Joseph. Over to you, Sanjeev. Sorry, I kept you on hold. Sorry. Sanjeev, you need to unmute.
Great. Good evening and good morning to those people on that part of the world. Fabulous, Faisal. It's amazing that you're taking across the Kenyan story to all our fellow Rotarians. And yes, this is the amazing platform where we have the Wildlife Conservation Fellowship going on. And looking at this aspect of invitations going across the globe, I think I just want to throw an idea to our President Sanjay that maybe if it is viable, then here in Kenya, because this is a hotspot for wildlife conservation, if we can host a physical fellowship sometime next year. So we'll tie it up with some of the projects ongoing, and then people who are interested can actually physically come across, and we can see how we can all come together to support a specific wildlife project. So if that idea is agreeable, then I'll just start working on some kind of a rough guide and share it, and then we can all put our heads together. Then maybe it'll be great to have the first physical fellowship out here in the wild. Thank you.
Thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks. In fact, that's one of our objectives. One of the objectives of our Wildlife Fellowship group is to, visit each other's country and, observe the wildlife there. Definitely we will plan something for next year. I will work with you closely on this, and let's see how we can have a physical fellowship and try to have friends from different parts of the globe attend it. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for pitching that idea. Yeah. Chris, my request to you is, one more request to you is, if you can bring someone who can speak on sloths one of these days, it will be great, because we would all love to hear about sloths, and I am sure that we might, find some Rotary clubs interested in taking up projects to do something for sloths. So would it be possible to, take it up and identify a speaker and please refer?
That is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a speaker
Oh.
that can talk about
Okay.
sloth.
Okay.
Maybe for next year's convention, not this year's, but I'm thinking about Calgary and beyond. So I'm a long-term thinker in how we manage things. So yeah. So if we do have anybody within the wildlifers that have an interest in sloth or can speak about sloth, I'd love to hear from you. And so is Sanjit.
Sure, we will find out if there is anyone who can speak about sloths. Yeah, over to you, Richard. Do you want to ask something, Richard? I can see your hand.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm the co-chair for SRAG Africa region. That's a Rotary Action Group on Environment. I see yours is a Rotary Fellowship for Wildlife Conservation. And wildlife conservation and the environment are sister and brothers, or sister and sister. How could we have an active engagement between the two Rotary Action Groups? I think that's a question more for you than Faisal.
Oh yeah. In fact, I'm in touch with Christopher, who's chair of Rotary Action Group for Endangered Species. Yes, of course, Rotary SRAG is also, like you said, brother and sister. Yeah, definitely that relationship is there. I'm sure we can work together and we can definitely have more impact. The more hands we have, the better it is. When it comes to biodiversity conservation, first thing that we need to look at is numbers. How many people can we gather for to support anything related to environment or biodiversity conservation, or rescuing the endangered species. Yeah, definitely, Richard, thanks. Let's do something together. Definitely, we will work towards it. Thank you.
Sorry, Richard, I can't seem to find your email address. Could you just resend it in the chat, please?
I'll send it right away.
Thanks.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you, Faisal. I hope I haven't missed any questions from the chat box, or of course there are a lot of comments praising your talk. People have really found your talk very interesting, very informative. In fact, one thing I didn't know that you identify the elephants by the creases on the side of the body. That's something that I did not know. I never thought about how they identify the elephants. I know we have heard about how tigers are identified, how zebras are identified. I mean, zebras, I believe the print on the body of a zebra is unique.
Unique. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, elephants. Actually, you need more of a keen eye to be able to identify them from the creases. But a lot of what people do is with the ears. You look for the edging on the edges of the ears are always very different. You look for the tusk pattern, but with the tusk pattern, what happens is, like I said earlier on, elephant tusks grow throughout their lives. So today the tusk is here, 2 years later it will be there. So you'll be a bit confused. Is it the same elephant? But you look at the tusk pattern, or you look at the veins. There's a big network of veins behind the elephant's ears, and that's what actually is, how the elephant cools themselves. That's the best way. When you look behind the ears, how the network of veins is, and that one, because again with the ears, they could tear a new notch, or it would get torn or damaged because they're paper thin. But yeah, you just from the side you identify the ears, the tusk, and best is the vein pattern at the back of the ear.
Do you think it will work the same way with Asian elephants as well?
Good question. I don't know. To be honest, I mean, I'm not an authority on them. I have seen Asian elephants a couple of times. It must be the same. It should be the same because it's the same species. I mean, it's a different species, but the elephants as well, and they cool themselves off the same way. So it should be the same for elephants. It's just that, of course, the ears are smaller and the Asian elephant is smaller.
The size is also smaller.
Yeah.
So let me see. I'll take that as a homework. Let me see.
Yeah, you should look. It's very interesting. Just by waving its ears like that, it pumps blood into the veins of the network of the vein network in the ears, and in 20 minutes it can pump all the blood in its body like a full circle, and that's how it just cools itself off. So they just keep doing that, flapping, and it makes a lovely sound.
Oh yes, absolutely. So thank you. We have learned a lot from your session today. On behalf of the entire Wildlifers team, my sincere thanks to you for accepting our invitation and participating and letting us, sharing your knowledge with all of us. My heartfelt thanks to Kalpa for bringing you here, and
Thank you, Kalpa.
I'm grateful to Kalpa as well. And thank you, Rashmi, for all the support as you have always done for our fellowship group. And not last but not the least, thank you all the participants who have been there, throughout. We had nearly about 66 participants at some point of time. I think post 8:30, 8:45, we still had about 50 participants. That shows how interesting the talk was. And I can see nearly 20 participants still being there, even at this time of our Indian time is 9:30 p.m. now. At this time, also I am seeing so many participants. Thank you so much, Faisal. I will stay in touch with you, and
let's keep in touch.
Like Sanjeev said, we will make a plan to visit Kenya,
Sure.
and definitely we will visit. We will see you when we are there.
For
Thank
sure,
you.
for sure. My email address is there. All, if you need to reach out to me, please, it's in the chat. Do keep in touch, please. And Sanjay will be in touch. Kalpa,
Sure.
thank you for this.
Thank you. Sure.
Yeah, and
I'll do that. I see your message. I'll do that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank
thank
you
you
all.
so much.
Thank you.